Hi there, this is going to be the first video of a series of videos around movement motivation, and movement mindset. And so before I go into things like lack of time, lack of motivation, and how we overcome these obstacles and these barriers, changing our perspective, shifting our mindset, for example, the first thing I want to explore really is if you have a goal, a vision, or a desire for yourself, understanding, is that really mine to begin with? So often we can be working towards a goal that actually isn't ours to begin with, either from this sense of obligation of an external expectation or even something more internal that we have created for ourselves. So, an external expectation, for example, might be that you have this goal of I want to lose 5 kilos, and that's your goal. But the reason behind that is really this sense that, oh, if I did that, my husband would find me more attractive, for example. Or it might be that I have this vision of running a 10K, and really the reason for that is because my brother and sister are athletes, and my friends are athletes, and they're running marathons, and they're doing all of these things. And so I feel like I should be doing that too. So there's this sense of obligation, there's a sense of should. Now, that's different to feeling inspired by somebody. A friend's just run a marathon and she really inspired me to want to do something like that for myself. There's a difference where it feels like an inspired action and it feels really light and really exciting versus a heaviness of obligation and oh, I feel like I should do that because if I did that, my relationship with somebody might change, or somebody else's opinion or perspective of me might change. The other more internal factors are things like almost these sort of learnt values. They're not even your own values, they're societal values, learnt values of what a woman should be like, for example. They aren't your own internal values. So it might be that women should be a particular size, women should be of a particular weight, women should be of a particular athleticism, they shouldn't be too muscular, whatever it might be that you have found yourself buying into because of these societal pressures. And when you really sit down and ask yourself, what is your own version of health, wellness, well-being? What is your own value system? What feels really true for you? And if you can look at the difference between this kind of external value system versus your own internal value system and bring your goals from that place, that's when they're more truly aligned, and when you're actually working from a place of your own vision, your own personal power, your own perspective, you're staying in your own lane. Another internal pressure, or it's almost like that mix of internal versus external, is when you've had a vision or a version of yourself that no longer exists or serves to who you want to be. It might just be that your body has changed, your values have changed, your perspective has changed. So as human beings in a human body, we are constantly changing. And if there has been a version of you, for example, you used to be an athlete, or you used to be an avid gym goer, pumping iron, getting really strong, and that used to feel really good and nourishing to you. And now what feels really good and nourishing to you is not that. It's more the meditation, yoga, And I'm just making up an example. I don't think either of them there's no better than another. They're just different. But it is what feels truly aligned and valuable and nourishing to you. So for example, for me, when I was recovering from my second birth, and I had a very concrete version of myself that was Taryn, the athlete who was a triathlete training to get faster, fitter, stronger. And when I then became Taryn, the recovering mother who had to really reconnect with her body and start building foundations again, that version or vision of me felt like it no longer served. But there was almost, if I really bought into it, that was something that was comfortable, known, easy to explain. And because it was comfortable and known, and because other people could identify me as that, it felt very difficult when I was like, people would ask me, are you still into triathlons? Are you going to get back into triathlons? Or are you something different now? You seem like you're going on this, more spiritual journey, or whatever it was. And it would make me feel like I needed to explain myself as to why I had changed from being that kind of person to being the person who I am now. And so it's this sense of obligation of needing to explain to others is one thing, but also when we have felt really comfortable in a space and that was almost part of our identity, when we're shifting or moving away from that through change, it can be very challenging and confronting, even though that's something that we no longer feel aligned with and valuable for us. And so it's these kind of things that we really need to dig into and be aware of, so that when we're working towards a vision or a goal, when we're coming up against barriers, it might be not that we don't have the motivation and that we don't have the time or the resources and things. It might actually be that what we're working towards, is not even ours to begin with. And so how do we actually sense and feel and know that for ourselves in our bodies? I feel like it's as simple as feeling for that lightness of energy, that expansiveness, for that almost like that curiosity, that excitement, that sense of adventure, whatever it is that you feel connected to when you're working towards a vision or a goal, versus a sense of obligation, a sense of heaviness, a sense of I need to explain myself to others and this feels really uncomfortable. And so it's really that is what feels like it's closing you down and making you feel like, this is not, it's feeling really heavy, versus what feels really light and expansive and not comfortable, but it feels more like an exciting kind of energy. And if we're working towards something that feels light and expansive, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy along the way. It's still going to be challenging, but we're not doing it out of a sense of obligation. And it might be just a simple perspective shift for our own self, that we're working towards a vision. And it could be partly our vision, but there is a sense of you're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for a sense of trying to gain worthiness, or a sense of worthiness or validation from other people. And so it's really sitting with that feeling of, okay, if I let go of this sense of obligation, this sense of needing validation, or if I let go even of parts of my goal or my vision, what does it feel like? If it feels like this huge weight becomes lifted off your shoulders, that is what I feel and sense is really connecting to the parts of the vision of the goal that are really you. and really yours. So looking for the lightness, the expansive energy to find the goal that is really aligned to you and your own self.